And Sunday night begins with big news as far as the national team is concerned. The Black Stars have a new head coach in Chris Hughton. My name is Benjamin Nketia. It's Scorecard here on Citi TV. As usual, we'll take you through everything that has happened throughout the weekend, at least what is relevant. And then we'll also dovetail into some other things that are happening as far as the world of sports is concerned. But like I said, big news coming through is that Chris Hughton, technical director of the Black Stars, has now moved on to the big job itself. He's now the head coach of the senior national team. A lot to discuss on the show with my good friends as usual. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into the conversation. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. And it's interesting that on Friday, we were discussing this full-blown on Citi FM Sports Panorama about how the national team head coaching slot had been vacant for far too long, because Ghana have qualifiers coming as far as the AFCON is concerned on the 20th and either the 27th or the 28th with Angola. So we needed a head coach in the position. Now, Otoado, of course, resigned right after the World Cup, and so it was baffling as to why almost 2.5 months after the World Cup we had not appointed a head coach. Well, the news just came in, maybe an hour, maybe two before I came on here, that Chris Hughton, former Brighton, former Nottingham Forest, former Newcastle United manager, and also ex-technical director, he's been technical director for the last 12 months for the national team. He has now been elevated to the position of national team head coach. Big news. Coach Christopher Nimley is here. Susu Graham of Citi Sports is here as well. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the show.
It's always a pleasure.
Coach.
Charlie.
Big news to welcome us.
Yeah. Long overdue. Truth be told, long overdue. And for me, this sort of arrangement has long been in place. You and I are not surprised.
Yeah.
Chris has been given the job.
Yeah.
Personally, to be honest with you, like I said on Sports Panorama, I didn't want him to get the job. I didn't want anybody
from the old
guys who took us to the World Cup to get closer to the job. But it's the same technical team there. The only person who's exited was their boss.
Yeah.
But we are told that Masao Didi Dramani and George Boateng are still going to be what? Assistant Chris Hughton.
Yeah.
If you look at that, and you look at what actually transpired at the World Cup, as a Ghanaian, there's some justification for being worried.
Let me hold your thoughts there for a second, and let me bring our viewers into this. Viewers, let us know. The text and WhatsApp lines will be on your screen. Let's know what you make of the appointment of Chris Hughton. And our brothers from Nigeria and Uganda, South Africa, and all over the continent, I'd specifically love your opinion on what you think about what Ghana has done with this particular appointment, especially following the last AFCON and the last World Cup. Let me know what you think of the appointment of Chris Hughton as Black Stars head coach.
Yes, so like I was saying, if you look at what transpired at the World Cup, justifiably so, if you're a Ghanaian, you should be worried. Because these were the same men who were in charge of our teams. We saw so many things done wrong. So many done wrong. We were there. We took a video analyst, Chris Hughton, we were told was the technical advisor to the playing body. We saw the problems that went through where we had the FA president behaving like a psychologist against the technical wish of the technical team, or whether they permitted that to happen.
But one would say that as technical director, he couldn't directly meddle or tell his boss what to do. I mean, he had been appointed to do a job.
That's what I'm saying. That I was coming to the point where I was going to say that because he was part of the man took $100,000. He took some.
Yep.
So we just didn't take him there to take that money. We expected that he would contribute fairly to decisions of our team. So I don't want to accept the fact that he wasn't part of what happened. He was part of what happened. He was part of benching Gideon Mensah when we needed him to play in that game against what? Uruguay. He was part of the technical team.
You want to say that
took that
for
decision.
every decision that was taken,
He cannot exempt himself. It was collective.
Technical team.
Collective. So you should be worried. But having said that, we should give him the benefit of the doubt. Because if you look at his track record, where he's come from, what he's been through, the level he's coached at, he's indeed, by far, in modern time, the topmost coach we are bringing to coach our team. That is what makes me a bit calm. For a coach who's coached in the EPL, he's coached Newcastle, he's coached Brighton, he's coached Nottingham. You want to say, this guy, he could offer us something good. My only hope, like Otto Addo himself said when he was resigning that day, that the next Black Stars coach will have to be firm. I think that firmness is for him to look boldly into the eyes of Kotoko and tell him that, young man, you are the Ghana Football Association president, accepted. But going forward, you will not be allowed to be part of player selection into our team. You have to stay as far away from that as possible. You give me absolute control because that is my jurisdiction. That is my area. I am in charge of the playing body. Selection-wise, I decide who comes and goes out of this team, not you. We'll be watching from afar. Me, you, all of us, will be watching from afar. This is a man who has been brought up in the modern way. He's coming from a culture that more or less cherish performance of players. So I don't expect to see a third division player being given a call-up into this national team. I don't expect to see a player who is sitting on the bench being given a call-up into this national team. If we were to go back to all these things that we've not been doing right under Chris Hughton's tenure as head coach of the Black Stars, then Ketia, it is time for me to be given the job.
One of the things I also want us to go back.
Did you hear that?
I know.
I said that
if we
were to go back to the sort of things that we have done for which our Black Stars has looked so ordinary, I'm telling the people of Ghana and the government for that matter, the GFA, it is time to appoint me because I will stand up to every form of influence and anything from Cat knows if I'm the head coach of the Black Stars, he does not interfere. I will relegate him to where he belongs. Young man, concentrate on your administrative work. Leave matters of technical direction to the technical people. We wish him all the best. I will support him in hand. For him, I know he will talk. When any undue influence comes his way, he will speak out because of his culture. And we look forward to getting him to build a formidable team that will give us a good chance. We'll qualify to the next AFCON and give us a good opportunity to put an end to what would be a 42-year wait, isn't it? Of not winning a major trophy with the Black Stars.
Well, what we know so far is that Chris Hughton has been made head coach of the Black Stars. We don't know the duration of his contract. We don't know the terms of the deal. We await those details. We are very sure that in due time those details will be made available. I'll come back to you, Coach, on it before we even move to any other football stuff. But Susu, just quick thoughts on Hughton getting the job after serving as technical director. What sort of insight should he bring? I mean, having had the benefit of that backroom, vision.
I think considering the distance, the gap between the World Cup and now, it's only right that someone who was part of the backroom staff was hired, because if you are bringing a completely new person in with so close to the qualifier, with about a month and a few days to the 20th of March when we are supposed to play that qualifier. If we're a serious nation, and I said this before, we would have, knowing that Otado was resigning, by the time the World Cup was over, we'll have a new head coach. He can start scouting, knowing players. So the only way we can actually have continue the process is our technical director who's been there comes in. So in that way, I understand it. but I'm not a fan of Chris Hughton.
Technical advice.
Technical advisor, sorry. But I'm not a fan of Chris Hughton as Black Stars coach. And
Why?
the reason I say this is more to do with what we've seen from him in the Premier League. He's used to managing teams that are underdogs. So if he takes us to a World Cup, it will make sense to me because we'll be an underdog at a World Cup. We are an underdog at the last World Cup. Yeah. So sitting back, organizing the defense and that kind of thing, it will work great for him. Yeah. But what we see...
Also, please, we are not a major footballing nation anymore.
Are we not underdogs now?
We are underdogs now.
Coach, let me
because just before I continue, one of the last time the Black Stars defeated in open play a top 10 African team. It's been close to 3-4 years. So we are not the powerhouse that we used to be.
Points well made.
Well, but that's the thing. Regardless of that, we know how Ghanaian supporters are. They don't want us to come and sit back against other African teams. If you go and sit back against Brazil or Argentina or England or France or whoever, no one will begrudge you that. But if we go to an AFCON and they see you sitting back against Egypt and you don't get the results, it's not going to end well for you.
I get where coach is coming from, but I also understand you because
I understand him as well.
Being Ghana, you go into every game expecting to win, regardless of how it is.
Especially when our people think that even the president of the land, Kotoko, they all think that when we go to a major tournament, we are going to win it.
It's a given. Exactly. So from that perspective, I don't think it would be good for the product that they are going to try and market. I don't mind it in the sense that if he's going to organize the defense, we are going to be solid. He has a solid game plan and we get results. On that level, I don't mind. But knowing what we know about Ghanaians, it's not going to be good enough because they are going to want us to play the ball, play attractive football, score 10 goals every game. You know how these things are. So from that perspective, I don't like the appointment. But coach is absolutely right. This is the most high-profile manager we've had.
Since Avram Grant.
Yes, since Avram Grant. Since Avram Grant. Absolutely right. And even then, I would say Avram Grant only got the Chelsea job because he was already in the club.
So by default.
By default. He doesn't, if you look at his managerial experience before and after that, there's not much to say. I would say Chris Hughton actually earned his Premier League jobs more than Avram Grant in that sense. So in that sense, he's probably the most polished club coach we've had. Because a lot of these guys from Serbia, if you look at the clubs, we don't know them.
They hadn't even coached by Milo.
You don't know. Yeah. So in that sense, he's probably the most prestigious coach we've had in years. The last thing I want to point out is, and I sound like I'm criticizing him a lot, but
no.
The truth is, when you look at what happened with Nottingham Forest last season, and the fact that they were basically in the relegation zone, fired him, were able to fly up the table and push for promotion. The fact that Nottingham Forest fans were completely against him and things, for me, it makes me wonder, has he kind of lost a little bit or something? Or has he learned from his time out? That's the last thing that worries me, that his last job did not go very well. It went very poorly. So that's the one thing that gives me pause. But as for 90% of the games he's going to have to manage, just getting us to an AFCON, and now there's extra World Cup places. I'm not too concerned about even the first round of World Cup qualifying, AFCON qualifying. When we get to the tournament, can he move us beyond round of 16, quarterfinals to semi-finals and final? I think he can get us to a round of 16 at an AFCON very easily. I think he can even get us to a quarterfinal without much sweat. But when it comes to the big games in the quarterfinals and the semi-finals and potentially the final, is he at that level? I'm not sure.
I think it is at that level where there wouldn't be a second chance. That is where his tactical, defensive, because at that level, it is the defendant, the solid organization at the back that will take you through. So maybe when we get there,
just touch on that for me, because I was going to talk about that. Look, we have a lot of young, enterprising, attack-minded players in our team. Now, he was instrumental in bringing a guy like Tariq Lamptey, for instance, into the fold. How does his managerial style mesh with the core of the young players we have in terms of the attributes that they have?
Look, I think we needed a personality first and foremost.
Okay.
And I think he is in that bracket. Somebody who, when he walks into the dressing room and he starts speaking, his profile, his pedigree will get every player to listen to him. Okay. And not only listen, but abide by the tactical instructions that he will give them. That aside, if you are dealing with young players, you need to get them to be very disciplined.
True.
And the best way to get them to be very disciplined, if you can cast your mind back a bit to the Milo era, when we went to the AFCON with virtually an inexperienced team.
Yeah.
The Michael Essien that we're all hoping for to carry the team in Angola, after that second half against Cote d'Ivoire, got injured at training, and our team became completely young, being led by Richard Olele Kingston with the Samoan as the main man. Almost every player there was very inexperienced. What did Milo do? He actually got these boys to be very disciplined and listen. The advantage here is that when you are working with young players, they are much, much, much easier to control tactically than when you are working with egos. Because if you are working with a young player, he knows he's young. Yeah. He knows if he doesn't listen and play according to your directive or your instruction, you're going to boot him out. And that anxiety that comes along being a young player, very anxious, you need a sober head, an experienced head, to calm them down and get them to work as a unit. That is why some of us was very much against the appointment of Otuado going to the World Cup. I said it severally. You don't give an inexperienced team to an inexperienced person. It just doesn't work that way. So I'm very happy. My only wish, I wish he would go back and amend the issues with Joseph Pencil, because the boy is peeved. He's not only peeved that he didn't go to the World Cup, he's peeved with the people at the FA because he believes sincerely that they sabotage his going to the World Cup. That aside, so he needs to amend. If he can go back and talk to Jeffrey Schlupp, go back. Look, I watched Alfred Duncan this evening against Juventus. Absolutely fantastic. Yes, Fiorentina lost the game by a lone goal. But you ask yourself, this is a player bossing the midfield of Fiorentina alongside Amrabat. We all saw the output of Amrabat at the World Cup. So the question is, we have a player who plays along one of the best midfielders in the just ended World Cup. He said he won't play for Ghana again. The people at the FA doesn't see why they should go and get such a player to rethink the decision and come back and serve his country. This is one of the things we want to see Chris Hughton use his pedigree, his personality, his experience, much very fatherly approach, and get some of these players to rescind that decision and come back into the Blacks. Because look, every Ghanaian player who is doing so well, who is playing at the top level, when I say top level, I have always said, if you play regularly in any of the 5 top leagues in Europe, if I'm the head coach of the Black Stars, automatically you are straight a Black Stars player. That is a non-negotiable. But we sit in this country. Over the years, we've had players play in the top leagues. They are not called. 3rd division players, 4th division players are called. When these players are called along with the top flight player, when they come, the man who plays in the Serie A, the one who plays in the English league or German, rather come and sit on the bench and watch Lomote and co, 2nd, 3rd division players to be playing. Under Chris Hughton,
they should cease.
They should stop immediately. Because if this doesn't stop, then it means Keto Kreku and his people will stay being in charge.
I just want to say something.
Yes, touch on it. Just 1 minute.
Just 2 things. The points he made about the players we have, I think because our players are very good at dribbling and they have a lot of pace. Even if we play a counter-attacking system, it works for them.
We should be going to
because look at Kamaldeen's highlights against Southampton. He won man of the match, completed 8 dribbles. But if you notice a lot of dribbles, he was using his raw pace to beat his man very easily. Imagine someone like Kamaldeen, where maybe defending deep a bit, he picks the ball up maybe around the halfway line, and there's a lot of space, and he goes.
Joseph Pencil, he goes.
Make things happen. So that aside, don't have a problem. And talking about the players
mending
relationships, I don't think that's possible. And the reason why is if you are Joseph Paynes or you are Alfred Duncan or whoever who we are saying is wrong, and you see Chris Hughton, someone who was technical advisor to go to the World Cup, someone who seems ingratiated with the FA, someone they seem to like, you will probably think to yourself that it's going to be more of the same. Why should I even bother when it's the same people, the same person was already there? So I don't see, I hope some of these players will be able to be brought on side. I hope some of these decisions to draw some of these players should not be up. Because like Coach said, if you have players playing the Premier League regularly, regular Premier League players, League 1, German Bundesliga, Syria, La Liga, etc., etc., it doesn't make sense that they are playing at such a high level and you have other players who are playing in less. See, if you are playing in a league like maybe Serbia or Croatia or Greece, you have to be one of the best players in the league for you to be supplanting a player who's playing in those leagues. Because for me, even if you're on the bench of a PL team, there's a reason a PL team has put you on the bench rather than you being a star in Bulgaria or wherever. No disrespect to the players playing there, but there's a reason those leagues are where they are. So the truth is, once you're a regular player in certain leagues, your place in the Black Stars should be non-negotiable. Because it's not like we have abundance of players. It's not like we have 20 players in the Premier League, 20 in Syria, 20 in France, that you can say that you are picking. You are sports for choice. If you have five in, let's say, La Liga, 5 in the Premier League, 5 in France, by the time you count everything, it's up to 30. If you pick about 23, 25 out of that 30, that's a world-class team. Most national teams will kill for that. So I think coach is right on that. We should prioritize them. And at least if you're in a smaller league, we have to see you in Europa League, Champions League, Conference. At least be playing in Europe and making an impact in European competition if you are not in the top 5 leagues. Because at least it shows that you can compete with the best of the best.
Yeah. Let me just summarize everything for you. For me, I mean, having been with the national team in the last 2 tournaments, a few things I'd want to see Chris Hughton do as national team head coach. First things first, you need to mend the relationships. Look, it's non-negotiable for me. A national team where players who are deserving feel aggrieved and feel like they are outsiders and can't be in regardless of their stats, regardless of their performances, it doesn't really bode well, because the lads on the pitch are giving their heart out, they are playing their heart out, but there are people whose bitterness will fight against you, and these things work. You might think it doesn't, but they do work. So I'd like to see Chris Hughton be a unifier. Secondly, I'd like to see him give this team an identity. I was a little confused about what we were as a team under his predecessor, and so I'd like to see him bring an identity to the team. Again, like the lads have said, I don't mind if it's a defensive identity, if it's what will get Ghana to thrive in competitions, because we have the players who can play really well on the counter. We have quick, pacey players. We have young players, and so bring us an identity and then bring some discipline into the team. Look, bring discipline into the team. Our national team, just like everything else in life, thrives on discipline. If the playing body isn't disciplined, the technical staff isn't disciplined, you will not achieve anything. So you need a unified front for this to happen. Discipline the team, and I'm very sure that you'll be on your way to glory as Black Stars head coach. We wish Chris Hughton well. There'll be more on all Citi Sports platforms, CitiSportsOnline.com, Citi Sports GS on YouTube. So you should look out for that. But let's get into our first break. When we come back, we'll bring you some local football, and then we'll get into some Premier League highlights as well. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let's now get into some local football. The Ghana Premier League was in full flight this weekend. Accra Hearts of Oak, they were up against Brekum Chelsea. They recorded a win in that game, a long overdue one. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, they stumbled when they went to Daewoo to take on Dreams FC. Let's check out the highlights of those games, and then we'll come back in studio to discuss.
Awako, Kosa, Benjamin York, back to Kosa, chance for Hearts of Oak, and it's an own goal. It's an own goal from Lord Armour. The Phobians in the lead. The ball from Awaku was precise to find Kosa, tried to play the 1-2 with York. He gets the return, and it's the captain Zakaria Fuseni who scores. Anane steps in to make his debut for the Phobians. Here is Zakaria Fuseni. The flag is up. It won't count. The flag was up. Offside. Upon with the delivery, not dealt with well by the Phobians. Shot in by Zakaria Fuseni, but that's offside. No questions. York, Awaku, Suraj finds York. It's a chance for the Phobians. Benjamin York. Oh, that's a brilliant goal from Benjamin York. He makes it 2 for the Phobians in fantastic style. The build-up was good. The pass was brilliant. He rounds up the goalkeeper. There's a yawning net, and he places it in. Hearts of Oak up by 2-0. I thought the initial first touch was not good, but he kept his composure, and he slots it in so beautifully. Hearts 2, Chelsea 0. Benjamin York. What a way to come back after that defeat to RTU in Tamale for the Phobians. Zakaria. Chelsea, they're looking dangerous. Kusi, and they pull one back. Pandros Kusi has pulled one back for Brecum Chelsea. It's 2-1 and it's game on. The Phobians look to have taken their foot off the accelerator after scoring, and Chelsea won't give up. There's a good goal from Pandros Kusi. Awako is looking for Clinton Apia. Here is Clinton. That's what to still hang on. Now he sends a cross to the near post, and it's a third goal for the Phobians. Victor Edu makes it 3 for Sabok. Good connection from Edu. Half 3, Chelsea 1. The ball had crossed the line. We'll have a second look whether it crossed the line or it didn't cross the line. This should be the opening goal, and Dreams FC have opened the score here in Deu. Good connection. He took it on a volley. No doubt about the quality. Here is McCarthy to Boa. And Boa's efforts intercepted by Japan, but Dreams FC take possession back. Here is AJ. Dreams FC looking for the second. Ejeni Mboatin, and it's an amazing finish. So look at AJ, but how did Japan allow Ejeni Mboatin to pick up the ball and slot it at the blind side of Dunlad? Just look at Ejeni Mboatin. He skipped past Japan too easily, and Dunlad had to make way out of his area. He made sure Dunlad.
Welcome back. Just quick thoughts, coach, on those two games. Hearts of Oak return to winning ways. Kotoko lose at Deu.
To be honest with you, our league, the standard is too low. So at times when you are actually analyzing and trying to talk about it, being very tactical is a bit difficult. You have to limit your expectation to enable you to talk in a certain way. That's a full game. If you look at all the 4 goals that were scored in the space of what?
Like 10 minutes.
10 minutes. I think 3 out of the 4 could have been avoided. Okay? But the awareness of our defenders in the league is appalling. The lack of awareness. If you look at Hearts of Oak first, the one that was their own goal, you could clearly see the wall pass. At the premier level or at the highest level, the moment Kosa gave the ball to the player, you see the center back stepping out. And it wasn't a like one touch return pass. The guy controlled before passing. And yet still, there was a Brecum Chelsea player playing Kosa on for him to think about the pull out that got deflected into their own goal. And then at the end of the day, if you look at the Brecum Chelsea goal they score, even on that offside goal, I'm a bit unsure whether it was offside, because I think, yes, there was a player offside, but the one who received the ball.
Yeah, there were 2 of them involved.
Yes, he didn't look offside.
He didn't look offside.
He didn't look offside at all. But again, is the level of our league, the level of officiating. Then when you go to the Kotoko game, goodness me, is that where Dreams FC play their football? Is that where they play their football?
Deu.
This is the Deu Stadium. This is the pitch.
The Deu Park. It's not the stadium.
No, I'm talking about the pitch.
Yeah.
This is not playable green grass. This is rubbish. What you describe as rubbish. Tomorrow there is green grass growing and you go and weed. Cha, cha, cha. That is the level
but
of
I'm sure they are doing their best to get something to play on.
You see, if you can sit down when we are going to the World Cup, draw a budget that says every management member should go home with $100,000 for no work done, and you come back and come and play on such a pitch, you don't need to be retained as FA president, isn't it?
Coach, one of the management members who took 100,000, that's his pitch. So maybe they are going to work on it.
Who?
Kotoko,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so maybe they'll work on it in the off season.
That money should be invested in our game.
Yep.
That money should be used to improve the pitch at Dreams FC, at Dewo, at other venues.
Yeah.
But it's gone to the pocket of one individual. And what makes it so sad? For no work done. No work done.
They tell you that they put together the World Cup and everything.
Put together which World Cup? We should be thanking them.
Yeah. Let's
go on to the street. If you were to ask Ghanaians, what should we use to thank the management members for being part of our World Cup? Nobody will mention 100. Nobody will even think about $10,000.
No one wants to even thank them.
Let alone 100,000.
Yeah. Then when this team Dreams FC
qualifies to go and meet and the boys are exposed to proper pitches, then they'll be falling down.
Points well made. Let's get into the Premier League now, and let's do it 2-block action. 2 games at a go. Let's start off with West Ham versus Chelsea. Chelsea paraded a lot of their new stars. It was expected to be a good game for them. It was expected to be signs of them turning a corner under Graham Potter. It didn't play out like that at all. They ended up stumbling and dropping points. And then Arsenal, back-to-back point drops in back-to-back weekends. First, it was Everton. This time, it was a London derby against Brentford. Let's check out the highlights of those 2 games. So, Chelsea Football Club, things not going according to plan. Let me start with you on that one. 600 million spent, and still Chelsea struggling to create chances, struggling to score goals.
I mean, it's always to be expected that players will take some time to gel. Because remember, it's not like they bought established superstars. They bought a lot of fairly young players. I think the players have looked okay for the most part. Because I feel like if you buy a 22-year-old or 23-year-old like Mudryk, around that age, straight from Ukraine, put him in the Premier League, he's not going to hit the ground running. We don't see it happen. Look at Enzo Fernandez. He looks calm and assured because he's been playing Champions League football.
But so they were bought for hit the ground running money.
Wow. You have to look at the age. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't teach players to hit the ground like that. But, I mean, they are making progress. They were creating some chances. They were making headway. They were unlucky not to get a penalty. I'm not come here to say it was the wrong
Graham
decision.
Potter said that Souček, big shout outs to Souček, the goalkeeper, for pulling out the save when he needed.
The truth is, I understand why Chelsea feel aggrieved, but per the rules, Souček's arm was supporting his body whilst he was on the ground. And if your arm is supporting your body whilst you're on the ground, it's not considered a handball.
When he touched the ball with the hand was not on the ground.
No, but you see, because it was under his body, they said that it's under his body to like break his fall. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I understand.
I get because of the weird position his body in. Because why would you go with your body and not your leg? I can understand why Chelsea are upset. So I thought a penalty should have been given, but per the fact that your hand is allowed to support your body and it's not a penalty, it's not a handball in that situation. That's why Souček got away with it, because it was a very strange movement. Yeah. But once his arm was under his body, like I say, you are breaking your fall, supporting your body, whatever. So that's why it wasn't given. But the Arsenal one, if we go to that one, the VAR referee forgot to draw the lines. So Norgard was offside, but I don't know how you forget to draw the lines. That one is inexcusable. But yeah, honestly, the Chelsea project is a project. That's why they use the word project.
How long till fans get impatient?
But the fans are already impatient.
You see?
that one. But for me, the way I see it, if they are not able to get at least Conference League or Europa League, I think Graham Potter is gone. But I believe the management, Todd Bowley and co, they are willing to give Graham Potter some leeway and some time. I believe so. Because for the amount of money they've invested, how they've spoken about him, I believe even if this season doesn't go well, they might give him the first few months of next season to see how he does. That's what my thinking is. I could be wrong, but I believe he has some credit in the bank by how much they trust him. That's what I feel about the project.
Coach?
Yes, it is a project, but the project needs proper direction, proper planning, and as to how to execute it.
You mean there are no early indicators to show that this will be successful?
No, from the managerial aspect of the thing, I don't see how it's going to be successful. Look, truth be told, the man was coaching Brighton. He was not expected to beat teams every week.
Yeah,
he could go at Brighton 9, 7, 8, 9 games without a win. Nobody will question that.
Yeah.
But when you come to a team like Chelsea,
they have 2 wins in 13.
there will be eyebrows. People will be looking at you very strangely. Excuse me.
Some Chelsea fans say they've forgotten what it feels like to celebrate a win.
He's also not helping his cause. Aubameyang, an established goal scorer, cannot get in the team. You've brought João Felix, Mudryk, there's Enzo Fernandez, the boy from PSV in Holland. They look promising.
Madueke.
But they need a focal point. They need a proper focal point. And that focal point cannot be Kai Havertz. It cannot be him. Look, you see the goal that João Felix scored.
Yeah.
If Kai Havertz is a renowned goal scorer, renowned number 9,
he should
be the one at the end of that move, not João Felix. So he's not looking, because he's been asked to do things that he's not used to doing. It's not within his DNA. But there's a number 9 there. Now, even if you don't want to use Obama, there's that other boy from Cote d'Ivoire, a Fofana boy.
David Datro Fofana.
Yeah, he's looked very good. He's big. He's very mobile. Links up his play with his back to go. He looks very, very effective. So if it is indeed a project, I think that is the boy.
Should be given an opportunity.
Should be given the opportunity to perfect the role come next season. But rather, the boy is hardly being looked at.
Sometimes when they don't buy you for a lot of money, they
tend to disrespect
They don't respect you.
Look at the Leeds
United. They don't give you opportunities.
Abochi and Charlize, Abochi Adope, Apalala,
Nyonto.
Wilfred Nyonto, Enyam Hill. 3 million.
Yeah.
But
it's
18. But coach, he was an Italy international before
that is
he was
what I'm
signed.
saying.
That one too.
He was playing for the junior Italy team.
No, he's been capped.
Mancini has given him 2 or 3
years. I believe he might have even scored or assisted in his first game, something like that.
I think he assisted. I watched that game. It was the
Nations League.
Yes. And Graham Potter will need to be the
bold
sort of
like
manager that is bold. So for him, maybe, but I want him to stay. To stay there and
you've made that very clear.
Then look, on the Arsenal game, look, we did a game on radio, and I was very emphatic when I said Arsenal will have to be patient because it's going to be a very long day.
Yeah.
This Brentford team are well drilled.
Very well drilled.
They understand what they are doing, and every player seem or look like he understands what the next player is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't do that, he comes to the A.
Now peep this. Like if you look at Thomas Frank's record, right?
Yes.
I think he's picked up either a win or a draw against the so-called top six. Everybody, literally everybody.
Yes.
From Liverpool, he's beaten Liverpool.
He's beaten United. He's beaten City.
Yeah.
And all that. So you could clearly see that Arsenal were not going to have things their way. Now, they did so well in being so patient. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to that. Pass it around. Don't force it.
I thought that they were eventually going to crack Brentford because, like you're saying, they seemed like they knew it was a difficult game. And they were patient, they were passing, they were making.
But something is becoming more of a problem to Arsenal now.
What is it?
Last week, they considered from a set piece against Everton.
Yeah.
This week, that goal was from a... Take it or leave it.
The second ball.
Yeah, the second ball.
But that was a bad refereeing decision.
Yeah, understood.
But the point, I understand, coach, though. The point, even if it's a bad refereeing decision,
why are you considering?
They should be dealing with it. They should be dealing with it because, and again, if you are playing against Brentford, this is what they are looking for. They are looking for every opportunity to put the ball in the box. Because
use
they've got
the height and the strength and power of Ivan Toney.
Play into their strength. There's Ivan Toney, there's me, there's Webo. There are other tall defenders. They'll come and they'll bully you. They'll bully you.
A tall bunch, actually.
So right now, maybe, look, if Arsenal were to get into a neck-to-neck with Man City win the league because this Arsenal thing, take it or leave it, they are not experienced.
And that's the next game on the horizon on Wednesday.
It's going to be a huge
there's something very interesting. Everton have gotten 4 points from Arsenal and Man City, and so have Brentford. So maybe drawing with Brentford is not as bad because remember, just looking at it, it's just very interesting that those two teams have.
If you want to win the league,
top
you should be beating Brentford.
If you went to Brentford and beat them, was it 4 or something?
3-0.
Arsenal went them and beat them with ease.
3-0.
When they now come to the Emirates and you want to win the league,
you should be repeating the dose.
At least.
But I mean, they won at the Etihad. That's the point.
I understand.
Arsenal will feel hard done by.
Especially because
especially with the refereeing decision that led to that. And VAR also very strange.
Yeah. No, it's pure incompetence from the referee to not draw their lines. It's that simple.
I want to make this point on Arteta. I think if he doesn't manage himself well, has to be very calm and to enable him to see, to aid the players through this difficult time, he's going to throw the league title away. His inexperience may come to the party because at this stage now, they are being matched boot for boot. On Wednesday, for example, he needs to calm down so that he can see the things he has to see to get his team. Look, if they were to lose against Man City, the title is gone. I don't think they'll recover.
A lot of football to be played, but yes, you're making a point about VAR, but also we saw that Saliba, Ivan Toney,
battle.
The numbers and the battle being highlighted.
That's not a battle. It was a slaughter.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you're a centre back and you contest 10 aerial duels and you don't win a single one.
10 aerial duels.
You don't win a single.
Didn't win a single one.
That's incredible.
You see, and if you look at, yes, Ivan Toney is big. Saliba is equally very big.
Saliba is 6'4".
Saliba is taller than Ivan Toney.
So therefore, what he should have done, very simple. You lost the first 3 area duel with him. The next one, you don't engage him. When the ball is being played, go and feel him, push him towards the ball, and then step up, step back. The moment he controls the ball in 10, then you step in. That is the way. Look, I think personally, I learned this from Vidic and Ferdinand. There were times where against Drogba, although Vidic was very strong in there, but Drogba was one of those attackers that gave him a difficult time. And he said it became clear in the air is a 50-50 battle. But because the ball was closer to the Man United goal, he needed to be smart in how to deal with the situation. So there were times where he would get Drogba to believe that he's coming to engage in a physical battle. Drogba could do this control. And the moment he turns, then he steps in, just toe poke the ball, and just to make sure that there isn't any control from Drogba. I think Saliba is very young, and he needs to go back and learn some of these tricks.
Just close it out on the Arsenal conversation for me.
Oh, I think coach is right that if they had won this game, there's less pressure going into Wednesday, but you drop points. City, look, if you watch the City game, we'll get to it, flew to a 3-0 lead in the first half. So by the time they were playing the second half, they were relaxed. They could even take a bit of a breather, lower the tempo, rest themselves a bit. They are playing a day. They are playing a day later, but they still have that kind of rest. But you were in a high intensity game and an emotionally draining game because of this. These decisions, they're emotionally draining. You're upset. You feel wrong, hard done by. Howard Webb has even apologized for how poor the decision is. It's not going to give you the points. You are still upset. So
they need to manage that.
They need to manage the emotions.
What I'm a bit afraid of is that Wednesday, in they being overly conscious not to lose the game, is going to take something away from them, and then City will go and punish them. There's a lot to come on Wednesday.
But so Wednesday, just the importance of Wednesday has gone up, because if they had won against Brentford, I would have said, look, if they even drew against City, it's a good result. But now, I think they need to win. I think now they need to win they need to win to put that dent in Man City's confidence.
There's a 3 points gap going to the game. They still have if they play City on Wednesday, they'll have a game in hand. If they were to lose and the points became equal, they'll have to win their outstanding game. And they've got the Etihad to go.
Well, for us, the neutral sitting on the sidelines, I'm going to grab some popcorn. It sounds tasty. Looks like we have a barn burner on our hands. But let's go to Leicester City versus Tottenham. One of the more surprising results over the weekend. Leicester City, you don't know what to expect from them these days. They actually came out and completely took apart Tottenham Hotspur. We'll get the highlights of that game, and then we'll check out Leeds United versus Man United, the second installment in just about 5 days or so. So let's get to those highlights back to back, and then we'll come back and discuss. Wow. So Leicester City scoring all sorts of sumptuous goals, and somebody needs to pour some water on Marcus Rashford because he is hot. What? Let's talk about Leicester City and Spurs for starters. Shocking result. I don't know what to make of it.
Shocking result, but I put a smile on my face.
Oh.
Yeah, knowing that they are facing Milan on Tuesday.
Well,
you have to
dent their confidence.
We'll kick them once they are down. But look,
it was
a big surprise because Leicester have been one of the worst teams in the league per their underperformance. They are just, and they are very open defensively. So you would think that Spurs, with all their counter-attacking potential and what they can do, would get a lot more out of this game. But it looked like they looked like how I expected Leicester to look from the highlight. The first goal, the first goal, it was a ball dropping to someone at the edge of the box and they take a shot. It happens all the time. They were just unlucky it flew into the top corner. It doesn't matter who's in the goal, that's a goal. But the second and third goals, the defending or lack thereof was very concerning. And if you are going into a big Champions League game, I know Milan are not playing well, but you don't want to be defending like that, because if you are defending like that, it doesn't matter how well or how badly your opposition are playing, they will beat you. So that was very concerning for me. And every time Spurs do something like this, you get worried, because Antonio Conte's hallmark is the team is solid defensively. They are great on the counter and they are organized. This did not look organized. I don't know, it's maybe because he's not around because of his gallbladder surgery that the team has fallen, but it was not good enough.
He wasn't in the dugout for this game, was he?
I don't believe
he was around.
He was around. So then again, maybe you are thinking, he didn't have enough time, he's under the weight. But whatever the case is, it shouldn't have happened like that. It was very poor, but good for Leicester, because their season has not gone well. Everything that has happened with them this season just so disappointing. And even from last season, it's like the malaise has, is setting, and it's just everything is not going well. They are just not. There's no investment. They are not moving forward. They were so close to the Champions League a couple of years ago. And if you remember, we said this before.
3 years running.
They finished fifth.
Yeah.
Then they dropped to 8th, and now look at, they are somewhere mid-table. It's all a disaster. But they still have trust in Brendan Rodgers, and maybe he'll turn this around. But
these are the kind of results they should take solace in, coach.
But I just want to say, for me, I feel like he's missed opportunity to go to a big club, because if, let's say, the Chelsea job had been available, the Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, those type of jobs had been available 2-3 years ago, it would have been his. Graham Potter has entered the zone he was in. Graham Potter took his place as a young upcoming English manager. And I feel like he's the boss.
I firmly agree with that. Coach, just quick thoughts on that shocking defeat there.
Look, I think this is the first time I'm seeing an Antonio Conte team this inconsistent. Because you don't beat Man City last week.
Yep.
Come and lose to Leicester in this manner. And defensively, if there's anything you want to associate an Italian manager with, is the quality of defending that their teams would definitely guarantee. But if you look at Dyer and those guys at the back,
Eric Dyer.
I think it's also because Eric Dyer is no good.
No disrespect, he's been terrible as a defender for at least the last 18 months.
Exactly. If you look at the manner in which they are just being cut open, you have to worry if you are Conte. Maybe it is because of player like this that Conte is so uncertain whether to renew his contract or not. Because we hear the people like AC Milan are looking at him. They feel that if Pioli, if it doesn't improve, Antonio Conte is there for the taking. And the people at Milan would love to have Conte in the dugout. You say?
I don't think AC Milan can afford Conte.
No, I think they will love him in the dugout.
Oh, they would, but they can't afford him.
For Conte, it would be another opportunity to go and coach a very traditional Italian team. So for Spurs, they are not good enough. Now, on the Man United Leeds game...
You should hold your thoughts on that one. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll get into that United versus Leeds game properly. Do keep your messages coming on Chris Hughton, on Arsenal, on United, on Chelsea. I want to hear what you have to say. Scorecard will take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get into more football and more talk. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let me read a few messages before we get into talk of that United and Leeds game. So this one here says that, good evening, Ben, and your sizeless crew. I don't know what that means. It says, it feels great to beat one of our bitter rivals, Leeds United. On Chris Hughton's appointment, I wish him all the best with the Black Stars. Manaman from Doma, Ahinkro with that one. This one says, Chris is the right man for the job. Ghanaians like to criticize too much. Prince Yobo from Takwa. This one says, Ben, I disagree with the GFA's decision. I don't think he will bring any change. Bet me he will be controlled by politicians. This one here from Godfred from Kwekutu. I think that's what it's called. I hope I got that right. It says, I think the problem will not be with the coach. The problem is with the FA and the people around the team. Thanks to Eric Ten Hag and Man United for the win today. Phobia as well Kotoko with that one. This one here says, good evening to you guys out there. I think Chris Hughton as new Black Stars head coach is welcome news. This is because his CV is good. However, the FA and his staff, the FA should allow him to work. Honorable Kamel Abdul Mumuni from Boko with that one. This one here says, Coach, you said it all. Bench players should not be in the Black Stars. Samuel Atiobe from Asin Basofi Ningo says that Hughton can do the job only if the FA will allow him to do his work. A lot of people seem to think that there will be a third hand. This one here says, good evening, guys. You always speak my mind. Keep it up. Your promotion is on the way. George from Abeka. Seth from Kumasi says, I want coach to assess size 50's performance today. Size 50 will come there. Coach, let's get into that on that note. Yeah. United winning 2-0 against Leeds United.
Yeah, so it was a local derby, and we all expect that normally such derbies are fiercely contested. Yeah. The game itself wasn't attractive to watch on the football instance, because hardly will Leeds United allow United to play football. Hardly will United allow them. Everybody was just interested in hacking and crunching and bumping into players. So now it came down to the coaches. For the Leeds United manager, he was very happy with his tactics. So he stuck to that. Now this is what Ten Hag did. And look, again, he tactically tweaked something that convinced me that this guy, he knows the job. Look, when he effected the substitution of Jadon Sancho and then Dalu, and then he brought on Garnacho, shifted Bruno to the right, made right forward Rashford the number 9, and withdrew Weghorst into the number 10 role, where he could now pick up the ball, link up play, and then use the pace of Marcus Rashford in behind the Leeds United backline. Because in that entire 65, 70 minutes, everything United did was completely nullified by the Leeds United tactical approach. So something different needed to happen. And that is where it started from the manager. Now, Rashford go from being a left winger to be the main man. Weghorst step out of being the number 9, come and play as a number 10. Bruno Fernandes move from being a number 10, go and play as a right winger. And let's see how it goes. And then he brought on Martinez, took off Malacia, shifted Luke Shaw to left back, and brought on Martinez. Now, before that, Maguire and Luke Shaw, they were just passing the ball among themselves, to and fro, back and forth, no headway. Under pressure, they will go back to David De Gea. He will either kick it long, United will lose the ball, or you give it back to them. Now, as somebody speak about and said I should comment on Maguire, it is clear that he's a substandard defender. Because today, on 3 occasions, under no pressure, he just gave the ball away. If you do that against a quality opposition, you get punished. Leeds United were so lackluster in their attacking play. They were by far the better team until Ten Hag tweeted and brought in those tactical switch that allow United a bit more freedom to play. I want to see how Casemiro will make Sabitzer a better player, because it is clear that if Casemiro were to play alongside Sabitzer, Sabitzer will be immense. Look, he will impact, he will influence football games better. Go back to that goal, the first goal that Rashford scored. Under pressure, for him to have seen the diagonal switch all the way to Luke Shaw. These are passes that Fred and McTominay will never make. They will never see. Even if they see, they don't have the quality to execute, the technique to execute. So that is what we are talking about. You understand? And for Marco Rashford, like you said, he's so hot. He extremely, very, very hot at the moment. He's the top goal scorer after the World Cup in all the top 5 leagues. He scored the most goals than any striker in the world as we speak now. It has to do with the confidence the manager has given to him.
Does that have anything to do with United hiring Benny McCarthy as a striker.
Of course. You see, I believe in departmental coaching. And then holistically, you put the pieces together and then you coach as a unit. So if there is a defensive-minded coach, midfield, attack, somebody who's played the role, who understands the role.
And Benny McCarthy was a really good striker.
He was a really good striker in his days. Yep. And for him to have played and then gone to educate himself, got the badges and practically work as a coach. Look, when Ten Hag appointed him as one of his assistant coaches to actually focus on the attacking play, personally, I was not too certain. But I really, look, he understands the number 9 role better. Yeah. He's won the Champions League in that role. Yeah. So he understands what an attacker should think, how his level of movement. And I think he's made Marco Rashford a better player. This Man United team, next season, you see the bid is almost done.
The team coming to buy your Man United, we are waiting for who is bringing that Arab money or that big money.
Coach said April.
The team is going to Qatar.
Coach said April.
Coming Friday is the deadline for the submission of the bid. Once the bid goes in, it's either going to be the people from Qatar.
We'll see what happens. Let's check out the Aston Villa versus Man City game really briefly, and then we'll transition into some other leagues as well. So briefly, let's get to the highlights of that game. So Manchester City making light work of Aston Villa. So just quick thoughts on that one.
Look, like I said, it was a easy win. Aston Villa woke up a bit towards the end of the second half. They hit the crossbar. They could have made it 3 to make it uncomfortable. But look, if you go 3-0 down in the first half, it's only down. Like, where do you go from there? And conceding the first corner of the game is sloppy. And knowing Unai Emery, the game plan was to kind of, wait it out, contain the pressure, try and get your chances on the counter and make things happen as, Man City get more desperate and more space opens up. So once you concede early like that, the game is dead. And it was very unfortunate because we didn't get to see the game plan because the individual mistakes let them down. Even the second goal, look at that. De Bruyne plays a ball and a botched attempt at the clearance, and Haaland just gets the ball, plays out.
The goalkeeper shouted at him, "My ball," and then all he should have done was to leave the ball for Martinez.
You get what I'm saying? So it was just comedy all around, and it made it easy for Man City. And like we said, but the penalty was a bit suspect. It was a very soft penalty, but that's the problem. Once there's contact in the box, it's very hard for VAR to say that, look, we have to overturn this penalty. Once there's a little bit of contact. It's one of those things. If the referee had not given it, I doubt the VAR would have also come back and said, you missed something. You know how it is. So very, very unfortunate there. But it was just Ramsey's inexperience showing. Mahrez got an easy penalty, and I felt bad for the Haaland triple captain guys. I heard there were quite a few of them, but it is what it is.
Well, let's get to some other action aside England. Let's get to the Club World Cup. Real Madrid were at it once again, winning another Club World Cup 5-3. Is how this one ended against Al Hilal. Let's check out the highlights of that one. So a very high-scoring game. 8 goals produced. Not the kind of stuff you see every time. So Club World Cup number 5 for Real Madrid. I don't know, but I feel like something should be done about the format of the Club World Cup.
I think there's one tournament that needs to be. We should cancel it.
They're expanding it.
Shockingly.
They are going to play, I think, once every 4 years. So all 4 Champions League winners, all 4 Europa League winners, I think all 4 Champions League finalists from the last, like it will be for 4 years. And then all the South American for the 4. It will be kind of like, Europa League, Champions League for the last 4 years, all of them go into the Club World Cup and that kind of thing. To expand it to make it a bit more.
The final details are not known, but
in this format,
I think in this current format, it's outlived its usefulness. The Europeans will always
be... The gap, before, when they used to play the Intercontinental Cup, that was back in the day. When it was just South America and Europe. The quality, then again, at that time, a lot of South American players were not in Europe. The top South American players were in South America. So you see, Pele was playing for Santos. That kind of thing. Zico was playing for Flamengo. Those days, it made more sense. Now we have a kind of world system where all the top players are in Europe. So it doesn't really add anything. And rather waste time for the European team because you fly to some other parts of the world to play these 2 games and come back. You can derail your season.
3 games.
In fact, a lot of the time,
outstanding games like Real Madrid.
Which is why we see a lot of Club World Cup winners. The next season, they don't win the league or the Champions League. I think it's only Real Madrid because of, in recent times, you see AC Milan went in 2007. They finished 5th that season. You see other teams going. If you remember, Real Madrid, the first time with Ancelotti, they were on a 22 game or something winning streak. Everything collapsed. They didn't win any trophy aside the Super Cup. So, look, it's not always for their best. These mid-season trips aren't their best. So.
Let's head to Italy and let's get to the Serie A. AC Milan were up against Torino. Lecce were up against AS Roma. Let's get to the Lecce AS Roma game, and then we'll get to the Milan Torino game as well. Back-to-back highlights, and then we'll come back and discuss. So Jose Mourinho's AS Roma drawing, AC Milan winning. Let me read a few messages before we get into talk of that one. This one here says, good evening to you, Ben, and your panelists. I listened to I listened to Susu during the Citi commentary, or during radio commentary. He said he doesn't think United is in contention to win the league. Kindly tell him that I beg to differ. To me, United will surely win the league. Mark my words. Omar Fosseni from Sunyane with that one.
Boy.
So somebody says that.
This one, I'll leave it to Coach as a Man U fan.
I'll come back in a bit to that. This one here from Fode, coming from Sierra Leone. So big ups to my people in Sierra Leone. He says United is making a run for the title. Any more mistakes from Arsenal, like we have seen, or a slight hiccup from Citi, will make a big move for the title. Bruno playing number 9 when Casemiro is absent is my problem. But whatever happens, Arsenal and Citi should check behind and see who is coming. Coach, I love your analysis. So Fode from Sierra Leone with that one. So big people coming through all the way from the other side of West Africa. We love it. This one here from William from Sakumono says, most refreshing team to start the week with. The pitch at Deu shows where our priorities lie in terms of development of our football. I can only imagine what Kotoko's new Brazilian forward will be thinking. Seriously, we need to improve our standards. So William coming through, not too happy with the quality of the pitches. This one here also coming through says, good evening, Ben and crew. I'm happy for Chris Hughton as our new coach. May the Lord bless and guide him. On the part of Man United, kudos to the boys for finishing hard today. Indeed, United are title contenders this season. William Jidula Bosu from Apollonia. So a lot of United, whether you like it or not, your United people say that you are title contenders.
Oh, I said if Man City and Arsenal were to misbehave, United will have
you
a huge
enter the
say.
picture.
Of course. And Arsenal have decided to misbehave already. But hey, United are 5 points off Arsenal, if my calculations are right. But they've played 2 extra games. 2 extra games.
Yeah.
So you have to look at all these dynamics. Let's see how Arsenal, Man City will go on Wednesday. And then we'll see, because I've already said that United have played Arsenal home and away, Man City home and away. So they are free with the top 2. There are other games that they need to win. But Man United fixtures are too many. They are the only team
in every competition.
They've
Carabao Cup, FA Cup.
They also didn't win their Europa League group, so they have to play 2 extra games.
Yes, they also didn't do what?
Win the group, the Europa League group. So
yes,
they have to play against Barcelona.
And they have to play against Barcelona. If they had won the group, they would have drawn a bye. So they are playing against Barcelona home and away. And the squad depth with the injuries to Eriksen, McTominay is not back, and then of course, so there are issues. So I think the time will come. Of course, you don't want to go and get disgraced by Barcelona. So I'm sure Ten Hag would take even his team selection today, resting Varane, resting Martinez was a clear indication of what he's thinking about on Thursday.
He knows he needs silverware. So just quick thoughts on the Milan Torino game and then Roma Lecce. Every time Jose Mourinho's rivals stumble a little and he can make up ground, they also end up stumbling.
The players, look, I said this before. I remember when Mourinho was signed. You said you were sure he was going to win the league, and I told you that, look, if that Roma team makes even 4th, it will be an achievement. And they finished 6th last season. They've improved, they've done some things. Maybe this year top 4 is in the works. But look, if you look at the Roma team, there are some good players, but there's a gap in quality. If you compare them to Inter, Juventus, and AC Milan, they are not up there. Even Napoli is there. Atalanta, they are probably maybe at best at best,
Yeah.
the 5th or 6th best team in the league in terms of squad composition. So that is where I expect them to be. They can make 4th because things are going. Look, Juventus's 15-point deduction is a godsend for every team challenging for top 4. Because as AC Milan are slipping up, as Inter are slipping up, and Juventus have been given -15. Because if not for that point deduction, Juventus would be second.
Yeah, they were in the top 4.
They would be second right now. That point deduction has helped a lot of other teams. So, look, Mourinho is doing a good job per the resources he has. He's doing very well. But the squad was so bloated and so poorly planned. It's going to take a lot of time to fix that squad. And that's the problem. Is Mourinho patient enough to go through a full rebuild with this Roma team?
I'm not sure.
And that's where, but he's won a trophy. We've won the Conference League. We might be able to win the Europa League this season.
Maybe if a certain team in the English Premier League sacked their coach, Jose Mourinho might be a candidate to fill that role. I'm sure he would love to coach that team.
I believe top EPL teams are a bit wary of Mourinho now. I think they feel like his time has passed.
Not necessarily, because he's not the man for the long term.
He's always been that guy.
Yeah, 2-3 years.
I think now everyone wants a coach that they feel they can rely on for 5-10 years. I feel like
we're returning to that era again.
Where it's looking for teams that are looking for a dynasty. They're not looking for a guy who will win. And someone like Antonio Conte, where he will sell all your young players to bring in a bunch of 30 and 29-year-olds that won't last you the long run. Because if you look at even the transfer policies of teams now, the big money isn't being spent on 28 and 29-year-olds.
It's
It's
being spent on
23,
younger
24. Because you are buying
22 even. 22,
teams are buying players for a decade, 15 years. So Mourinho doesn't fit in that, and I think that's why his time at the top level might be finished.
He fancies the Chelsea job for
the
third time.
A third coming. I want him somewhere.
Look, I think if you give him this crop of Chelsea players,
he wins something.
He wins something immediately, and he will get everybody reminded about who he is.
The special one, the only one. Whatever you want to call him,
But
Jose Mourinho
just
is a big
say
guy.
something back to AC Milan. I think for them it's a good morale win because they played Torino 3 times this season. They've lost both. Even one of them, Torino was down to 10 men and they still lost. So I think for them psychologically, they needed this win a lot. And it puts them in a good situation going to face Spurs. I don't expect them to do much in the Champions League because if you look at the other teams in the Champions League, the quarterfinal is their last stop. If they are lucky, if they even get past Spurs. So I think they should focus on league, focus on finishing the top 4 and continue building Milan up to where Milan used to be because with less income in Serie A, it's going to be a long road. So I don't think people should be so upset that they are not doing as well this season. And if once they're in the top 4 this season, it's good enough. It's good enough.
Well, it's been a good sports week. Chris Hughton getting hired, Black Stars head coach. Arsenal, not too happy. I'm sure they want to get their season back on track in midweek against Manchester City. I'm rooting for Jose Mourinho at AS Roma. I hope he does well. Real Madrid, after winning the Club World Cup, I'm sure they want to come back and get their season back on track because that's been faltering as well. But thank you very much, Coach. Thank you very much, Susu Graham. That's our show for tonight on Scorecard. My name is Benjamin Nketia. We'll be sending you little snippets of everything that's been said on the show on our various channels, especially our Twitter channels. Our YouTube channel will also have the full show for you to go check out a few of the major highlights out there. So look out for those ones. A lot of Chris Hughton content also coming, so look out for that as well. That's it from us here. Thank you very much for doing the viewing. Same time next week, we'll be right back here.